Hey, it's Giovanni. In this video, I want to talk to you about the difference between dates in Taiwan versus dates I've had in America. As someone who's lived in both countries, I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to speak on this topic. So let's get into it. Dates in Taiwan tend to go on longer because the girls are more comfortable with you and there's more talk before you go on the date. You ask them about their family, a little bit about their job. So a lot of that date conversation happens like online or maybe on text. And by the time you get to the date, you're like, okay, I kind of know this person. And I have found that the girls kind of stick with me for longer. They don't just go to the date and then leave. They actually hang out and they want to go to another bar or they want to go for coffee. And I found my dates to be around like 3 to 5 hours here. Whereas my dates in the States, depending on the situation, could go for an hour to maybe 3 hours. I feel like on the date, I can mostly be myself. Whereas in the States, I feel like there's like 1 or 2 hours and it's like, I'm almost putting on performance a little bit. Just culturally, I know a lot of other guys too in the States feel like they have to be like, you know, it's a performance, it's like an interview, rather than just hanging out with the person and seeing what they're really like. And I think that is a distinct cultural difference in dating from American to Asian, right? Even if you're awkward or if you're nervous, after the first 2 hours, your normal kind of kicks in. So you just become like, oh, this is how I am when I hang out with a friend. And you really get a chance to see someone like how they really act rather than how they're acting for you on a date. On the flip side, in America, yes, it's a performance, but if you do the performance well, hookups happen very quickly, right? Within 3 to 4 hours. Whereas in Asian culture, it's a lot harder. I also found that in Taiwan, we talk a lot more about our parents because adults live with their parents until they get married. A lot of them do. Every girl I've dated so far has lived with her parents except one. And the one that hasn't, she's actually from Canada. So because they live with their parents, they're not, logistically, they can't hook up. And there are these like love motels that you can like kind of rent out for a day, but it's just logistically a lot harder. It also costs money. Whereas in America, most adults live, you know, with roommates or by themselves, so you can go home with her pretty easily. But I feel like in Taiwanese culture, most girls, not all, but a larger percentage of girls view sex as something a little bit more serious, a little bit more intimate. In American culture, there's a lot more percentage of girls that view sex as more like I wouldn't say a handshake, it's too casual. It's more like playing tennis. It's like, yeah, happy to play tennis with you, right? It's a lot more casual. A lot more percentage of women are open to that and think of it that way rather than a more serious type of emotional investment. And so I find that women have higher body counts in the States, but also they're more easy to hook up with. Taiwanese culture, it takes longer. However, once you do hook up with a girl, she's very loyal and she's very invested. So that's the difference between kind of Taiwan dating versus American dating. One interesting thing I found from my Canadian friend, actually, she told me Taiwan actually has a lower STD count. Asians in general have lower STD rates just based on the data. However, STD testing culturally, because it's lower, people don't do it as much. It's not expected. Whereas in the States, it's like, no, you get your STD screening like at least once a year if you're sexually active. There's less sex, usually less sexual partners, but less testing. Whereas in the States, there's more sexual partners, but also testing is like a good thing. You see it on commercials. People remind you to get tested. So in a way, that's a positive thing to, you know, have a clean bill of health and to preemptively know if you have an STD. Now in the States, people have situationships, which is Gen Z lingo for I'm dating different people, I'm hooking up with them, and then I'm seeing what I like. Some guys want to perpetually do that forever, and some guys like me want to do that only to find the right person for me that's compatible with me sexually, but also emotionally and spiritually and intellectually as well. That's the States, right? In Asian culture, it's more like, let me date one person, maybe 2 max, and I just want to see if this person's right for me. And if not, I'm going to let him go and pick up the next one. So it's almost like one at a time rather than this like situationship where you're dating multiple people. It's tough for women in the States because women have a lot of freedom and also culturally it's not so enforced, right? In Taiwan, it's like your parents expect you. There's this like, you can feel the energy in the air, the social pressure, like, are you going to get married? Your eggs are going to start degrading by the time you're 30, 35, you know? You can feel the cultural pressure to do so. And I think that's why a lot of girls are on their profiles or whatnot, they put looking for serious relationship. I think women want that too in the States, but culturally it's not being reinforced. And so sometimes it's just like, all right, I have to date around and kind of sleep with a guy to see if he likes me and if I like him. So culturally there's more pressure And so therefore, I think more women are more serious about dating rather than compared to the States. So those are some of the differences. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule. There are a lot of good Christian girls in the States that I've met that have a totally different perspective. There are a lot of expats in Taiwan that have a different experience because they're here from a different country. So there's always exceptions to the rule, but these are the general patterns I've seen. I would love to hear your experience if you have similar experiences or different experiences in the comments below. Yeah, I hope this video was useful, and I'll see you on the next one.